Anti-apartheid activist Aziz Pahad was laid to rest at the West Park Cemetery in Johannesburg. We'll in fact be speaking to Mzwandile Mbeje, political editor, in just a moment. Mandla Mandela calls on his family and the public to allow his cousin Zoleka Mandela to rest in peace. Transnet Group CEO Portia Derby and Group Financial Officer Nkululeko Dlamini resigned from the state-owned entity. A very good afternoon. If you've just joined us, we're coming to you live from our studios here in Johannesburg. Welcome to the Week in Review. Now, this is the program where we review some of the biggest stories to come out of the week. I'm your host, Mfundo Mabala. Anti-apartheid activist Aziz Pahad has just been laid to rest at the West Park Cemetery in Johannesburg. President Cyril Ramaphosa has accorded the former Foreign Affairs Minister Category 2 of a special official funeral. Pahad died at his Johannesburg home on Wednesday. He was aged 82. Our political editor Mzwandile Mbeje joins us live now with the very latest. Good afternoon, Mzwandile. You've been speaking, just as I saw now, to two presidents. Just talk us through what they had to say about this giant of a struggle hero.
Well, thank you very much, Mfundo. A very good afternoon to the viewers. Indeed, we've just concluded the funeral service of Aziz Pahad, the late former Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs from 1994 to 2008. And of course, as you've correctly said, we've spoken to the people who have governed this country at the highest level. One of them is President Thabo Mbeki and of course President Motlanthe. So from what President Motlanthe said was basically that he has traveled his journey, he has done what he's supposed to do, and then of course it's time for him to rest. And then all we can do, the ones who are remaining behind, is to take lessons and take them forward. But from the former President Mbeki, he actually was a bit more detailed in terms of what he feels should happen. In fact, he said many of the things that may be challenges today do need leadership, which he feels may be lacking somehow. And then it's not necessarily restricting it to political leadership, Mfundo. He's basically saying with the right leadership or with the determined leadership, a lot more could be done in terms of resolving some of the challenges. So the departure of someone like Aziz Pahad marks that era in which really we get to end some of the illustrious careers which saw the dedication as this country was crafted, as this democracy was crafted. Even the president on the podium did say someone like Pahad basically planted the roots which nurtured this democracy that we are having. And then he called on all of us to reflect, to pause, to see if we are doing exactly that which Pahad would like to see done.
Yes, basically saying that he was a repository of knowledge when it came to foreign affairs. Most certainly, the country has lost. Thank you very much, Mzwandile. We'll leave it there for now. That's political editor Mzwandile Mbeje, who has been covering that particular funeral for us. Let's shift our focus to this story. The grandson of Nelson Mandela, Mandla Mandela, has called on his family and the public to allow his cousin Zoleka to rest in peace. Mandela released a statement last night in which he referred to unsavory behavior at Zoleka's burial yesterday. Now, this follows what appears to be a family spat over where she was to be buried at the Fourways Memorial Park. In a statement, Mandla Mandela confirms that his cousin Zoleka's last rites were marred in controversy. Mandla was seen leaving the church service just before all other family members could leave for the Fourways Memorial Park, where Zoleka was laid to rest. This after an apparent list surfaced of individuals Zoleka Mandela had requested to be barred from attending her funeral, Mandla Mandela's name being among those. Mandla has labelled the timing of the release of that particular list as unfortunate. He has called on all family and friends to restore respect and dignity and to let Zoleka rest in peace. Parliament is still on the hunt for a new initiator to lead evidence against 3 EFF MPs who stand accused of misconduct for disrupting President Cyril Ramaphosa's oral reply session in August of last year. The disciplinary hearing against the 3 EFF MPs was postponed indefinitely after the initial initiator withdrew from proceedings, citing potential conflict of interest. The Powers and Privileges Committee began the disciplinary or preliminary disciplinary hearing on Wednesday.
These were the scenes that broke out in August last year when the EFF stalled the sitting, demanding President Ramaphosa to answer questions around the theft of money in foreign currency at his Phala farm. Chaos ensued and several EFF MPs were removed from the House. 3 EFF MPs, Veronica Mente, Nazir Paulsen, and Kanya Ceza, will now face a DC. However, the process has hit a snag as the initiator has since been appointed to chair the University of Cape Town's council.
This matter raises a unique complication for me. The EFF student body won overwhelmingly the elections at the university. I have to deal with them both as a student body and as a political formation. Whether I like it or not, there may be some allegation that I've taken sides.
We had no objection to Mr. Arens's withdrawal. We understand his position, and we wanted to express our commendation to him for taking the cautious approach that he is taking.
Some lawmakers welcomed Arens's decision.
And I agree with him in terms of the presumption of bias, or perception of bias, that there could be. So, Chairperson, I would propose that we accede to his request to be released.
As a committee, we shouldn't complicate any of these reasons that he advanced, but for us is to accept.
However, the EFF says justice delayed is justice denied.
We must underscore the delay in justice that this entire development is going to cause. We must underscore that. I mean, already the matter has been in abeyance for over a year.
Parliament is now looking for a new initiator before the DC can proceed. Several other EFF MPs will face DC hearings for disrupting 2 other House sittings, the President Q&A in June last year and this year's State of the Nation address. Parliament also heard this week from the Office of the Auditor General that medical legal claims against the Health Department are on a steady increase. This as the National Council of Provinces delves into the impact of medical negligence claims on provincial health budgets and mitigations on medical legal claims. The AG's office says claims from 2018 to the end of March this year stood at 77 billion rand. During this time, more than 15,000 claims were lodged against the department. The province with the highest number of claims is the Eastern Cape, with just over 4,440.
As at 2023, the balance was sitting as cumulatively approximately 77 billion. And our observation is the fact that we realized that as much as the sector wanted to reduce this amount, over the years, this amount has actually increased significantly.
Some of these claims are justified, and you can see from the presentation of the AG, which we really agree with their progress report, that they are justified, but others have really been found to be fraudulent, and hence the proclamation by the president to allow a special investigation unit to investigate the medical legal claims.
Meanwhile, Parliament has asked the public to comment on the National Prosecuting Authority Amendment Bill. It is one of the measures to deal with and prevent state capture. However, MPs raised concerns that the bill does not deal sufficiently with the independence of the NPA. In addition, The NPA Amendment Bill addresses the President's response to the state capture report. The President's response has three main points: to establish a permanent investigative directorate, to ensure transparency in the appointment of the head of prosecutions, and to strengthen the capacity of the NPA. The current NPA Amendment Bill before Parliament only deals with one of the three aspects.
Investigating directorate to be established as a permanent entity. Here, the National Prosecuting Authority Amendment Bill has been introduced and is currently undergoing deliberation in Parliament.
MPs raised concerns that while the bill deals with the establishment of a permanent investigating directorate, it does not deal adequately with the independence of the NPA.
From what is in the presentation, as well as what was now shared with us during the presentation, we must, in my view, be worried that there is a disconnect between the remarks of the Zondo Commission about the importance to deal with and to establish an independent national prosecuting authority versus the envisaged work by the department and this government as set out in the presentation.
And we know the recommendations came out a long time ago, the Zondo Commission, and we are dealing with an NPA bill now. So it is a pity, and that bill dealing with or purporting to deal with the permanent successor to the ID. It's a pity that we were not able to look at this aspect, independence of the NPA, understanding it would require a constitutional amendment, as the department has pointed out. But the pity now is obviously this is now going to stand over to post-election.
The department considered that there is no time to add proposals that deals with the independence of the NPA.
Those are all issues that are quite complicated, that need to be reflected on, deliberated on, and will take time, particularly if they involve constitutional amendments. And that is why we want the National Prosecuting Act Amendment Bill passed to ensure that right now the investigating directorate has greater capacity.
However, MPs say an investigating directorate that falls under the NPA will not be independent, citing the fate of the former investigating directorate, the Directorate for Special Operations, as well as that of the Scorpions.
We've seen what happens when you have an investigating directorate that works, housed within the National Prosecuting Authority. As soon as politicians become uncomfortable with such a unit, they just disband it, as they did with the DSO. Despite great opposition to the disbanding of the DSO, it was disbanded because it went after politicians and they didn't like being bitten.
The department reiterated that it is racing against time if it wants to ensure that any changes before the 6th Parliament term ends ahead of next year's general elections. The closing date for submissions on the National Prosecuting Authority Amendment Bill is the 6th of October. Parliament also received the news of the passing of anti-apartheid activist and former Foreign Affairs Deputy Minister Aziz Pahad. Pahad was a Member of Parliament and Foreign Affairs Deputy Minister between 1994 and 2008. Political parties sent messages of condolences describing Pahad as a man who was committed to nation building, human rights, and a peaceful international community.
Focus is saddened by the passing away of one of our veterans, Comrade Aziz Pahad, who served in this country by excellence. He was appointed as a deputy minister in 1994 to 2008. That on its own is a clear demonstration of his passion, his love, and commitment to serve. The policies that we're implementing now, he has been very instrumental in those international policies that South Africa is owning up. We are saying we have lost a great leader.
Mr. Pahad was an exemplary diplomat for our country in his role as the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs, and he played an instrumental role in helping to position South Africa internationally as, you know, an important player in international relations and foreign matters.
He also continued to serve as an international diplomat who had represented our nation on the global stage with distinction. His legacy is one of commitment to the principles of equality, justice, and human rights, and his legacy will forever inspire us to continue the journey toward a more just and equitable society.
Parliament will now go on a constituency period for about 2 weeks. Ulelani Philip, SABC News, Parliament.
Let's take you to the northwest now, where Economic Freedom Fighters leader Julius Malema is addressing a Siyabonga rally in that particular province. Let's listen in.
Hauna police station mona bana ba rona ba katiwa mona basadi ba rapiwa hona le botsotsi bo buipile matla mo re batla police station kintwe EFF is on to elwanele or in each and every township there must be a police station so that re lwantse bokebekwa. But drugs, they must be identified for a very long time. Because but by Pilemata Motolela Mo, Baregisa di Titibati, and Riabatiba or Gebo Mangi, EFF is one tiba confronted but vow, or you are destroying the future of South Africa. Because how registered by the drugs or registered the nyaupe, you are destroying the future of South Africa. So reswante relwante but ba register the drugs, relwante le mapodisa a sebetsa le batho ba register the drugs. Because hona le mapodisa are being corrupt. Not all police are corrupt. Marauna Albabe corrupt and Rabaiti, we must expose them, we must report them to the commissioners, we must report them to the media, expose it so that we get rid of rotten potatoes, so that Bekeya Renaya Mapodisa, Ishalele Mapodisa ama clean. Comrades, Realwana, Urarbatli Potolu Mona, because every street must have a tar road. Haisna tar road by Kenya paving. Because how we are motropo mo, how na strata says nan skontiri. Rebatlan twemole mwereri tolan kotropo, reswanjere tole mo. Because kaufela rona repatela the services to the same municipality. Hakotropo. Only street lights. There must be street lights everywhere here. Hakotropo, we only the ground. Say nang libyang, banaba kono dlala on the ground. Say nang li lawn, lemo, harebati a dusty ground. We want a ground lawn that will encourage our children to participate in sports. Why? If it can be done in town, it can be done in the township. Because we are under one government. Hausana apartheid, ya service makuwa, ya nchabat babantu, ya we can't take services to black people. 30 years into government, yet we are not the same with our white counterparts. Comrades, nte maspalar batlangur ayete, korbong kono ka fela le batho ba leader ba tholang tšhelete ya SASSA ba ye ko SASSA masipala o ye ko SASSA o nke list ya batho ba tholang SASSA ba mo tswelelang ba ikenye mo database ya masipala automatically ba le disqualify from paying rent, from paying water, from paying electricity, because you are poor. Hey, Onea Yang Kono tšhelete ya SASSA wa re no you are poor wa tlhophea tshwara tšhelete ya SASSA ke na o nea ke the same government e khutle bosiu e re you are rich pay us water and electricity. That is a contradiction. But ba tholang SASSA ba santur haba ya ko university bana ba bona ba ya ko university but give us your mother's ID, give us your parents' ID. Haba ikenya ko computing ba re SASSA beneficiary automatically ukena ko university free of charge. Because okasereba tumatula SASSA were they are poor. Wababa for education ya mahala were quintal what school can go to school for free. Wababa feeding scheme go school where these people are poor. When they pass matric, Habafika University were kibaka registration fee. Unana har pasa matric ibar fachelete. Rinka kai chelete yo patela registration fee. All along you said to us, you are poor, go to school for free, I will give you free books, I will give you food. Hakitena University or Patan, Kinga Kai Chelete. Comrades, but Barona Abasevits, especially young people, Bailomore, Habata Maile ma ANC, Habatole Museveti, Motwele Lambo. Motwele Lambo, Babata Robala Luena or Bofe Museveti, Habasa Robale Luena, Habao Museveti. Let's go Robala Lebona, Bakala Beba ANC, Botoga Meno, Babata Robala Lebana Baba Nyane, Baba Femi Sevets. How Robata Bazari, Ore Itakon Tumbusi, Marabata vote, Aritan Tumbusi. Cancelar, Harikena go cancele, Rebatla Miseveti Kaufela. Ye tiwa mo maspale mo if you ever acha batwelela not bacha but Lexdorp but wait Lexdorp to sebetsa mona o kana rena bacha ba rona mo tswelela ba ba ka etsa mosebetsi o le di tender ha di tswa ha di fuwe di businessman tsa mo tswelela mo o ska fuwa batho ba mafikeng ba Johannesburg ba ba tlo etsa di tender o ka ra ona di businessman tsa mo tswelelang tse di ka etsa mosebetsi mo tswelelang. It's important that the local business people benefit. Why? Ke bona ba tlo re fa mesebetsi because ke bana ba bo rona ba tseba tlhopheo ya rona ba tseba hore ba file rona mesebetsi ba lwantsha di drugs ba lwantsha bosinyi bo motseng mona. So re batla this government hore ha ira councillor ha mosebetsi o itswa mona o sa batleng di skills o sa batleng di qualification o ska ira batho bosiu o ska ira batho ka matlung be just chaba se kopane so ore o batlela batho ba 10 ha o batla di qualification kwala lina la o tlase o kene ka mara packet re bitse nkgono re re nkgono etla a etse fudua a ntshe lina a lebale public re hire batho ba rena public le wena ha o se o thole mosebetsi that day o tsamaya o le satisfied because o bona hore batho ba hiriwa in a transparent manner a ba hiriwi ka difane. And a councillor ha o batla hore ka 2024 EFF wine o ska hira ma EFF fela hira batho kaofela according to their qualifications. More EFF are hiri ka membership card re hira ho ya ka di qualification o ka ba le ANC o ka ba le TA ha o rata setjhaba sa hao o le committed to your job you will be hired by the EFF because we don't discriminate. re rata batho ba bantsho kaofela ha ona motho o montsho o re sa mo rateng le o a sa rateng re a mo rata. One day o tlo tseba nnete a tseba hore batho ba nratang ke ba EFF ha ona mokgatlo o ratang batho ba batsho o feta the EFF. So fighters, tshwaranang le bentho e one. Unity is what is going to deliver 2024. Councillor Oscar Rata Maemo Hausilo Umurumiwa wa rena Oscar today aru elected wa botsamaela kodimo ebile ba re o apara tie na re tle today ara o thola wa pere tie ka osane o tla bo re bora mo wa pere tie o iketsa madipete re kofi a re ba tlentho Councillor e apara overall ka re mosebetsi wa Councillor ko blokolla di-storage ko phetha di-pothole ko engage on Andristadan. Councillor rata malapa a senang batswadi ditšhiwana kaofela all the offense ba tsebe o raba bona wena ha o feta fela ba re ntate wa rena ke ola o be Councillor ya ditšhiwana o be Councillor ya batloki o be Councillor ya hore ha o na le lefu ka mola ba ra rena tšhelete ya o pata o ska ntšha tšhelete ya hao tsamaya shopo ka shopo o re ke kopa bupi ke kopa di-vege ba re why or a poor person died in my ward, I want to bury her in a dignified manner. Eba motho wa batho hore ha re kgutla mo re tlo etsa door to door re tsena mo matlong a bonkgono ha re re EFF ba re ke ya rona eo o ska bua next ke ya rona. Why o sa tsebe hore ka mo ho na le motho a tsamayang ka wheelchair? You must know people, each and every family, not ka group. O ba tsebe ka difane, o tsebe hore ka mo ke mang, o tsamaya bjang, o tsamaya ka wheelchair, o a struggle o tsena ka mo ntlong, o tle ka project ya re mo diele ramp, ya re a ska sokola o tsena ka mo ntlong. That is what a people's councillor do. He ba re bana ko sekolong bana o ba fa reporto ba ra ba patela school fees ke wena Councillor ra o fitla o re principal o re a o koloti ke ngwano o kolota ke batswadi ba hae reporto ye a se ya batswadi ba hae ke reporto ya ngwano mo fe reporto o late batswadi ba hae o ska ba Councillor ya o rapeletsa boroko ka o budulana Councillor o swantshulwe o lwele setšhaba sa hao o swantshulwe batho ba ge ba ya ko ditleliniking go ena le di-long queue ko tleliniking. What stops you or organize a soup kitchen or ko tleliniking bakgekolo ba ema 9 telle o fitlhe o ba fe sopo o ba fe 2 slice each o ra ba eme line mola ba tsebe hore there is someone who cares about us. Be a different councillor. Don't be like ANC councillor. Warata maemo wanana roba councillor ko ba khoshi aswena khoshi aona madia khoshi. You are a servant of the people. How can it you are the servant of the people? Utabona, your job is going to be easy. Musebet, what teacher, Korhat will say, O Rutabana. When a Councillor, how to say, Otama, who solve the problem, the community. There can be a day, Wokatuan, Wabawa Robala, also solve the one problem. You must know you are a useless councillor. We made a terrible mistake by electing you as a councillor. How's no problem, councillor Momotimu? It causes a problem. Yeah, I know Riamachayan. re matšetša meyara wa tired of corruption e ba busy o keep batho ba busy o organize the soccer tournament the netball tournament o sponsor the garage tša bana o lwantšhe the drugs ka program not ka speech. If you don't have a program bana ba ta continue ba ja the drugs. Comrades, our country is about to become a failed state. The clover Western Zimbabwe, because Zimbabwe ba own a fast at least. Renaro Sokola West resa oni le fast. Rebele Ramaphosa president. Situation here ebe limo. We are now Western. We were under Zuma. Mona o arate o rata makua o feta batho ba batsho. Batho ba ne ba etsa business ba le kodimo ba batsho, all of them abasa etsa business because makua re le go bona bana a re sa le leader. We now have the president. So 2024 we are going to take power from the white minority raifa batho ba batsho because monna o kile power ya rona we hukisete back into the hands of white people. So every young person must register to vote because halika se register to vote how ka kwa motho a re ko wena na ke vote ke gale re vote aba re etsetse next ke le ANC ke le ANC o tsebo le ke le ANC le o motho re khuruku kwena o na ko go ANC we ke ma ANC ba e ba kwatile ba re na re vote kaofela ha rona ba re being tired of these problems that affect our nation. Ka 2024 you must be registered to vote. Whether only 16 years and above, go and register to vote. Now, Satibur or vote, just register to vote. Or 2024, how can change Monan? You must be registered so that you vote for a party that will restore the dignity of black people. Black people, let me tell you, white people, 99% of them are voting. Auna lokuwa mo South Africa, lelisa voting. Wena makuwa anale everything. Abana banali enough reason not to vote. Wena una luto mara or ake vote. But bana lesabona, 99% yamakuwa ya vote. That's why TA Epela Ele number 2, because black people don't go out in their numbers and vote. What do? Ra complain. Go complain. Habarle, which is what the time. Le babangata, the chisa the time. Halefeja, chisa time. So what? The mayor is still the mayor. After uchisije tire, yabaya uchisa le tire. But how voter? How chisi tire? Okas chise again next. Utwa say, wabetadi kwai. War makeups. Watena mola ka umbrella. Silently, war tata. Kausa now to the mayor is gone. You were not sweating. You didn't spend anything. You just went alone. Whatever, even though to a meeting with yourself or today, Atlantiba, Mahod, Ichoti. Today, Batlantiba, Baluiba, Office Molankon, Office Ortata, EFF. How to Mola? We go Taflenia ANC. Like a level 70 dollar. Le 70 wanaka leska wara. Bata wanaka the result. Or can net the 70. Kauri, how na motho a tlo nkang pension ya lona? How na le di-clerk o le file pension, le porter o le file pension, ke tšhelete ya lona. How na motho a tlo nkang SASSA, le EFF e ka se nke SASSA, rena SASSA ra itabula ra fa bakgekolo tabolo wa diakete na. Le ye ya bana e ra itabula le yona. One, a re batle bana ba ba rona ba hole ba sotleha. If they are poor, they are children of the state. The state must take care of them. And re tlo ba tlhokomela bana ba. Kaofela ha ona motho a ka reng no o ka se thole RDP. For what? RDP o tlo e thola, and not RDP ya ANC ya ra ba fetsa o nea yona e cracky. Ha ro kwala le mati o tsamaya le handle le mati. Ro a matlu amantle au bale 3-bedroom, and then go be le passage, go be le room ya bana kwa, go be le ya batswadi kwa.
All right, those are live visuals there from the EFF Siyabonga rally taking place in the Northwest. Malema touching on a number of issues, among them being nepotism. You would have heard there him saying that the EFF hires on merit and not membership. He also touched on the conduct of councillors that serve people. He has told his particular councillors that they need to serve their communities diligently. More news on the other side of this break. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. Now, BRICS bloc leaders attending the Parliamentary Forum in Johannesburg this week have signed a memorandum of understanding. This 14-point memorandum was drafted by South Africa and parliamentary forums for the rest of the BRICS nations, which were tasked to add to it. The document deals with specific issues pertinent to the BRICS countries. Today is the final day of the forum, and Parliament's presiding officers have expressed their satisfaction with how the debates and discussions played out. Now, the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding has been described as momentous. The document is the formal intent of the BRICS nations to solidify multilateral relations between chambers, committees and groups of parliamentarians. It looks at inter-parliamentary exchanges, regular consultation and the development of no-cooperation mechanisms between parliaments. The MOU has been described as a commitment to reinforce the bonds between the BRICS nations. Chairperson of the National Council of Provinces, Amos Masondo, said the signing of the MOU represents an important milestone. Transnet Group CEO Portia Derby has resigned. The state-owned company says Derby will be stepping down from her position at the end of October. Derby has been Group CEO of the troubled logistics giant since 2020. Transnet had faced backlash from businesses, especially in the mining sector, for the inefficient logistics and port services, leading to freight being moved onto the road. Michelle Phillips, the chief executive of Transnet's pipelines, will act as group executive from the 1st of November. Group financial officer Nonkululeko Dlamini has also resigned from the company and leaves her position after serving a month's notice. As Heritage Month draws to a close, we bring you this story now about a very special trip that celebrates South Africa's diverse cultures. The SABC's isiXhosa radio station, Umhlobo Wenene, had a particular cultural event called Kenketa Nohlobo. This cultural experience took the station to an isiXhosa village in Zimbabwe, where they discovered a heartwarming story of people coming together across borders, an important tale about the importance of uniting through language and culture.
Umhlobo Wenene, South Africa's renowned isiXhosa language radio station, took the lead in undertaking a remarkable celebration themed Kenketa Nomhlobo Cultural and Heritage Experience to KwaBulawayo in Zimbabwe. This trip is part of celebrating the cultural heritage of AmaXhosa in South Africa and in Zimbabwe. A sizable number of Amaxhosa of Zimbabwe are predominantly found in the Mbembesi area near Bulawayo. Other Xhosa communities are found in Fort Rickson, Goromonzi, and Kwatemba. isiXhosa is an official language in terms of Section 6 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe. Here in South Africa, isiXhosa is spoken by over 8 million people, making it the second most spoken language in the country after isiZulu. This cultural exchange comes as the Xhosa people celebrate 200 years of the written form of isiXhosa and 100 years since the immigration of some of the Xhosa people from the Eastern Cape to other areas in Zimbabwe. With 2023 being a year of significance for isiXhosa and Amaxhosa alike, Umhlobo Wenene FM, which has over 4 million listeners, undertook this historic initiative. Loiso Bala and a number of SABC employees, as well as Umhlobo Wenene FM presenters, met up with the local Amaxhosa residents in Bulawayo.
Akukho nto etheni nganto niphethwe kakuhle nityile ke intoni apha umbhako negusha ixheliwe ndibona uba akho mntu ongahluthanga apha nihluthi nonke ewe nonke akho ongatyanga iindwendwe zethu zalapha eZimbabwe nazo ezindwendele apha zihambe zisihluthi abanye bavela eKaroi 500 km from here belande nina Mhlobo Wenene so niyabona ke uba ningabantu abaxabiseke kangakanani na.
The gathering was a testament to the unifying power of language and culture. A story of communities coming together, transcending borders, and enriching the cultural tapestry of both South Africa and Zimbabwe.
Well, I mean, one thing for sure is that we now are family. That means that I'm hoping that in the next year, in the next years to come, we'll be seeing some of our brothers and sisters from Mbembesi, from Bulawayo, from Zimbabwe, whether ngamaXhosa or they belong to other cultures, come and visit us and know that they are home, Mhlobo Wenene. And we'll be having that vice versa. So, and I believe, like a cultural exchange really begins there. When you begin to visit each other, you begin to sleep over at each other's houses, and you begin to learn more about each other, because I truly believe that it's in the place where you get to know each other that you'll begin to fear each other less.
Cultural and heritage experience also featured educational segments that delved into the history, customs, and traditions of the tribe.
Welcome back. Now, the Kingdom of Lesotho held the 2023 local government elections. 1 year on, following the national elections, the local government elections continue to see a sharp decline in voter turnout. The October 2022 polls was at an all-time low of 38%, which was a 10% dip from previous elections.
For Lesotho, falling under the least developed countries, the local government elections is that one slim opportunity to have a direct say in who will make the most impact in one's local town and village. A low point even for election officers.
Why do you think Basotho are less interested in participating in local government elections?
For instance, where we are, Hohlo, is a village right when you cross the border to Lesotho. The infrastructure is very poor. There are no roads, and people are just not interested because they say, what are these councillors, what are they doing? What is the local government doing? So people are really not interested.
Now, comparing to when you started in the morning, in terms of percentage, what do you think the turnout looks like?
Very poor, because if our ballot books has 100 ballot papers and we haven't even, it's almost lunch. One book is not finished yet, and we have 6 books per station. So that's how bad it is. But we are still hoping. Until 5 o'clock we will see. But we haven't, I don't think even 10% we have reached 10%.
And this is an opportunity for every Lesotho in every corner across the country just to do the right thing.
And listening to the local media, judging by the traffic outflow to South Africa, it looks like many people would rather spend the holiday attending to more pressing matters, so we went asking why.
Have you voted?
Not yet.
Not yet. Are you sure you will come back in time? You'll be happy with the choice. And yourself, have you voted?
Unfortunately, no.
But to some, a civic duty is a must.
Yes, but we've done our part.
Have we? You have?
Yes, here.
Ah, wow, okay.
Evidence.
What does it mean for you?
What?
Local government elections.
I don't know. I just vote for the right party.
Oh, okay.
What other method is there to express an opinion than in actually putting a mark? So at the end of the day, we would be shooting ourselves in the foot if we have concerns, but instead of taking action, we then turn the other way.
Power to the people. Yes, we are now decentralizing from the big government to us here at grassroots to have the decision and the impact of how we want our villages, towns to be.
I'm Rapelang Khatebe for SABC News, Hohlo Primary School, Marseille.
130 world leaders, 13,000 registered delegates, over 2,000 bilaterals and more than 2,500 media in attendance. Well, those numbers represent a snapshot of participation at the just concluded high-level week of the United Nations General Assembly in New York. And while a great deal of effort was put into reinvigorating the Sustainable Development Goals, the lack of implementation was most visible by the low numbers of female speakers in the General Assembly and the male-dominated delegations that continue to populate the annual event in New York.
Out of the 193 member states, 189 spoke in the general debate, including 88 heads of state and 42 heads of government. But just 21 out of 189 were women, fewer than 12%, while delegations simply did not reflect the parity much talked about in these hallowed halls.
They're not doing a good job, and we have no apologies to say it is wrong for you to present all male delegations in this day and age. Having said that, we've got to counterbalance that. That's what member states are doing, and we'll continue to push, whether it's in the parliaments to see more people elected, or it is when appointments come to see more women appointed to positions that they are capable of holding.
One of the targets of Goal 5 on gender equality explicitly calls for ensuring women's full and effective participation and equal opportunities for leadership at all levels of decision-making in political, economic and public life. But one scan across this room would suggest otherwise.
What we did here is to show the UN itself presents women at the table. I think men feel uncomfortable when they face the SG and he's got 3 or 4 women on his side, or I have, or that we go to a Women Rise and you see 85 women who are capable from all walks of life. By the way, there were government people there were private sector, there was us. So I think we have to keep showing that what they're doing is missing a huge number of competencies that would otherwise bring more solutions to the table if they were there. And we have to be courageous enough to say these things and to call people out delegation by delegation when you meet them. Because it's clear and abundant in the hall when you're sitting at the podium and you're looking down. It's true, I'm searching for the women. And that has to get better.
Several political declarations were also adopted by member states, including to reinvigorate momentum on SDG implementation, pandemic preparedness, universal health coverage, and on ending TB by 2030.
What have we achieved? Well, first, I think it was right up until the last moment, a high-level commitment for member states in the political declaration for the SDGs. It was very clear there that they supported one of the initiatives that the SG has put down to look at financing on the SDG stimulus, but it was also a reaffirmation of the goals and their relevance as a framing for us to get sustainable development and meet the 2030 agenda.
Across the goals, including addressing climate change, the means of implementation, including financing and technology transfers, became a central rallying cry, particularly among developing states.
Whether on climate or on conflict, poverty or justice, or peace, or strong institutions, these are not just global calls. They are existential calls. Calls measured in lives lost, homes destroyed, rights violated, inequalities persisted, and accesses denied. All these challenges demand that we reach further, that we engage fully in preparations for the Summit of the Future, and define the future of international cooperation amid multidimensional risks.
Homework for member states in pursuit of peace, justice and greater equity that remains out of reach for far too many, with the SDG deadline a mere 7 years away. Shervin Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.
All right, and that's where we leave it for today. Enjoy your afternoon further.